So Andy, tell me what we're standing in front of here.
This is the paint booth. So the step between the wood shop and upholstery is the paint. Basically, every cab gets a little bit. Just kind of depends on what we're creating and what we're trying to reproduce, how much. Basically you could say every baffle gets painted, because almost every baffle was painted in general, and you don't want to see the clean wood through the cloth. So we paint it black.
And even the cabinets before they're
the inside of the cabinets.
Okay.
So like your fenders, the black face, anything where you've got an open back on it, you usually paint the inside of the cabinet black, just to give it a nice clean look and to kind of
seal it a little bit.
Yeah.
And aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. It's aesthetic, and it's also good for closing up the wood, making sure it stops moving.
Very cool. So I've got to ask.
Sure.
I'm seeing this beautiful. It looks to be walnut.
It is.
Cabinet sitting over here. Is that an option for customers to have a custom wood cabinet made for them?
It is. Occasionally we do work in other materials besides the pine and the Baltic birch. This is a Tweed Deluxe that we've created out of solid walnut, and you can see the finger joints are going to be in a standard or a really prominent point in the construction. And
the grain is beautiful.
It's probably about 2 coats of lacquer away from being done.
Yeah, excellent. That's a very enticing option.
It's a lot of fun to work with too.
And you could a customer could call up and say, I have this particular wood in mind.
Yes.
And I have this cabinet in mind, and y'all can make it work.
So long as I can source the materials, we can make it work.
Okay.
And that's really what it comes down to, is sourcing the materials, and we have some pretty extensive sources. So
nice. Yeah. And in here we're mostly he's lacquering some tweed in here right now.
Absolutely. So with the tweed cabinets, you can do an amber lacquer, which is kind of your aging lacquer, which is what he's doing now, and then we also do a black out and a white out. So solid black cabinet or a solid white cabinet, which kind of interesting options.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the Tolex.
Now we're going to Tolex.
Okay, let's do that.
All right over here.
After the paint is applied, if and when and where it's needed,
sure,
and the cabinet's all ready to be Tolexed, I guess it comes to this area.
It does. So the first step in the Tolex process is to cut the Tolex. So we've got our cutting station here. Cabs line up. She reads the order, cuts the proper amount of Tolex, and sends it over to glue.
Well, let me ask you this. On the walk over here, I saw a couple cabinets that they were sitting, and it looked like they already had glue on them.
Yes.
And how long typically do they sit like that?
It's a very long open time on the glue. It has to sit for about 30 to 40 minutes, but past that it can sit for about a day to 2 days before it actually finishes the process.
Before any Tolex even goes on.
Right.
But, and then after you wrap it, and it's ready to go, how long until it's kind of safe to leave the factory?
Oh, pretty much immediately. Once the glue dries on the Tolex and the cabinet, because we do put it on both, once they come in contact, and we do a lot of pressure and rubbing on them to make sure that there's good contact there. Once that's done, it's stuck. It is adhered. It's not going to come off easily.
So that pre-cure time, does that help with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool.
Gets you there.
This is a cabinet that's been Tolexed, and it's nearing completion.
Very close, yes.
I'm noticing it's got some very nice corners cut in, and all the lines look nice and sharp and glued in well. Is this something that takes a lot of time to learn to do?
Yeah, it really does. The training process for this, once somebody's hired on and starts working in the Tolex and the covering department, they might be working on a cab by themselves in a couple of days, but it's 90 to 120 days before they're actually proficient at doing this, and to where they're actually just doing it and sending it through the process, and somebody's not coming behind and checking them on everything.
Right.
Doing these corners is very detailed, and making sure that all these cuts are straight, and just the little details that really make it a finely finished product, as opposed to just something that's wrapped in plastic.
Right.
So
and when these are being applied, is there a kind of a stretching process that?
Very much so. You have to make sure you're putting it on flat and getting, not creating any creases or any seams. There's a lot of rubbing and putting pressure on it to make sure that you're getting good contact between the wood and the Tolex to make sure that glue has a chance to adhere and stay.
And these are all applied by hand, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Just like the old days.
Right, that's exactly it.
So, and this one, this is a cabinet that's obviously going to have handles and stuff like that. Is that stuff something that's already been drilled?
Yes, everything's pre-drilled when it comes out of the wood shop, unless it is if there's a through hole. Anytime there's a hole through the cabinet, so if you're using a T-nut underneath for the handles or anything like that,
right,
the holes are pre-drilled, the chassis holes are pre-drilled and all that. So it comes out, and then these ladies will wrap, and then they'll poke those holes through before it goes into final assembly.
Very good. So now we move on to that
yes,
application of the chassis, the handles, right, the corners if it has them.
That's it.
And the feet. very importantly.
Yes, absolutely. The handles, feet, all that stuff happens right over here behind us. And we've got a little bit going on if you want to take a look.
Let's go check it
All right.
out. Okay, so now we moved over to some of the final stages here. Andy, we're standing here with David.
Yes.
And what is he finishing up on this?
So what he's working on is a small box head. Right now he's working on the mesh, which you probably can't see very well, but this process is about assembling the front panel, moving through handles, putting on the feet, getting the back panel together, putting it all. When he's done with it, basically it is a finished product ready to go to the customer.
Now, has it already, did he pipe it or?
No, that's done over in the Tolex area where we just were. This would be attached there, and
Right.
depending on how the piping is finalized, most of the time they do it, but then in some cases where we end it with a nail or something like that, he'll come over here and he'll finish that off. But
Very
this
good.
usually comes to him all set, ready to go.
Very
And
good.
his part is to bring all the pieces together.
Now, does he put the
make it
feet
work.
on?
He does.
Okay. A little bit left to do. Very
Yeah,
cool.
just a little bit. And then once he's done with it, it goes into a QA process. It should be 100% right here, but there's one more step to make sure. And then it gets packaged up and sent to the customer.
It's those extra steps.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Very
Let's move on.
All right, well, we'll step back around here,
All right.
just over this way.
This is QA.
This is QA.
So this is where stuff's just getting ready to go out the door.
Absolutely.
It needs to have a final look over. What are we looking at here?
Well, basically what the guys are going to look for, they're going to take the order and verify that the right Tolex and the right piping and the right handle and the right feet and all of the things came together exactly as it was ordered. And then from there, they're going to look at it for fit and finish and make sure that the gaps are correct and that the seams are where they're supposed to be and you know, that the chassis is going to fit. You know,
Right.
all of the basic stuff that should happen so that the cab is the way it's supposed to be when the customer gets it.
And this is some of the black Tolex.
It is.
The black
This
tweed.
is the blackout Tolex. Yeah.
That's very cool. So are most of these cabinets here are loaded,
Yes.
but you can also order them unloaded.
Correct.
And sent to your house without speakers.
Absolutely. However you prefer.
So, and you know, you guys do a lot of recovering too for vintage amps. If
We do.
you know, if I had an old black face, I've got a Super that's kind of beat.
Mm-hmm.
If I send it in to get recovered, is speaker upgrade an option that's available as well?
Yes, it is. Definitely is. And not only upgrading that and cleaning up the Tolex, but also making any repairs to the cabinet itself, as far as replacing a baffle that might be broken or
Upgrading it.
Exactly. Yeah. Or changing it, to moving things around, whatever you need to do to it, we can take care of that whole process.
Yeah, I saw that. I think you guys have a couple different baffle upgrades that can change the speaker sizes for certain amps too.
We do.
So, especially for the old Princetons.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's very cool. So Andy, I think we've seen pretty much all there is to see around here. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
For more information, visit mojotone.com. We'll see you next time.